I'm a millennial. I'm almost 30 years old. I have had 24 jobs. 24. I'm going to be 30 in like 2 months. 24 jobs. Like, there are people out there with like 3 jobs who've had like, I don't know, 5, maybe even 1. Like, can you stitch this if you have had like 24 different types of jobs, like styles, places, all of it? Like, I'm looking at my list right now. Let me know if you want me to like list them, because they've all like made me who I am today, right? Like, they're great jobs, but have other people had this many jobs?
Millennials wish to be sitting behind a desk just twiddling their thumbs, while consistently raking in over 100K a year just like their boomer parents were able to for little to no work and almost all the gain. Well, unfortunately, we just don't seem to live in that modern-day reality, and the majority of us middle-aged adults are left working multiple jobs while still having little to nothing to show for it at the end of the day. In this video, we're going to discuss how the job market seems lackluster and how, despite which generation you find yourself falling into or which tax bracket you might sit in, it feels as if the work you're producing doesn't really feel like it's really coming in with the outcome that you really think it should be. So, anyway, feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, as well as a huge shout out to them for you guys checking out these videos daily. I'm going to appreciate those, especially everybody who checks out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. Now, let's begin this shit show, and let's bitch and complain.
According to a recent report, 16% of adults are working a side gig and have no hope at retirement or anything else, which is super sad. But let me tell you what else came out from this that I think is even more sad. That's this right here. The average millennial right now is working 2 jobs. And you say, well, why is that happening? And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we live in a world of consumerism where everybody's trying to keep up with everybody. Everybody's trying to make sure they have the right thing to post online, all in an effort to be happy, and yet everybody's not. Otherwise, they wouldn't be following everybody else. And it's this vicious cycle where in order to have that stuff, I have to get a second job so I can afford it. Then you work that second job, you're overwhelmed, and now you start doing things because you deserve it, right? Like, I'm going to book a vacation because I work so hard. And this vicious cycle continues where people just stay unhealthy, right? And it's kind of like I told my son the other day. He was driving home from snowboarding, and I said to him, I said, Bud, please drive slow. It's snowing out. Getting home slow is better than not getting home at all. And I would tell you the same thing when it comes to this kind of a thing, right? If you're not happy before the vacation, if you're not happy before the new watch, if you're not happy before the new jeans, you're not going to be happy afterwards. Sometimes you have to take a step back in order to move forward. And working 2 jobs just to try to keep up with other people is never going to make you happy, because at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about relationships, creating and cultivating relationships. And I'm telling you right now, for your own life, if you put people over product, you will win every day of the week. But if you go product over people, it's never going to work out.
Now, I think the idea that people just don't want to work anymore it's not really that true. I mean, it's not just that simple, that is, being that I don't think, now there are definitely people in every generation who are just lazy and bums and rather, mooch off of the community and just try to live off the welfare as long as they're able to. But really, I don't think that's really the majority of people. I think many people would like to have some type of fulfillment. I mean, even myself, when I sit at home for a couple days, even at the end of the weekend, once you kind of approach that 3rd day, you're kind of fiending to go out and do something and kind of make some sort of like productivity, whether that's in your life, the community, or even anybody around you, whether that's just nature, animals, people, whatever. And it really just feels as if like there's this whole stereotype that Gen Z, millennials, and anybody, coming after us just doesn't care about life, that like technology has made life so easy, so convenient, there's really no reason, no purpose, no meaning to care about anything at all, that is, whether that's, relationships, community, or even really yourself. Because why would you do that when you can just get it so fixed, or you can have the question answered to you with a quick ChatGPT search, which, by the way, is I feel like ChatGPT is a fucking dork. It doesn't really answer a lot of the questions I ask very honestly, and I usually have to do further Google research. Luckily, I was able to learn that when I was a kid, but do kids these days really even do that, or they just get the clear-cut answer and then move on? So, what a weird world we're living in. Try to say that 3 times fast.
Owning a home has always been the American dream, but now that bedrock belief is starting to crumble. More people are getting stuck as renters. Why? Because the cost of everything is going up. Home prices are at record highs. Mortgage rates are at 15-year highs. The cost of insurance has gone up almost 75% since 2010 because of wildfires, floods, and other climate disasters. Last year, to qualify for a typical mortgage, you needed a household income of $127,000, which was up 60% in just 4 years. It's now cheaper to rent than to own in 49 of the 50 largest US cities. And buying prices probably aren't going to go down much. There's a housing shortage, 5 million units. That's really a hangover from the last housing crash in 2008. Buying a home has traditionally been a way to store wealth. In fact, the average home owner is 43 times wealthier than the average renter. But now payments are no longer fixed, and you can actually lose money if you buy the wrong home at the wrong time. First-time buyers only bought 24% of homes last year, and a quarter of those buyers relied on support from mom and dad to make a down payment. The average age of the first-time buyer was 38 last year, a record high, up from just 28 in 1991. A lot of younger people may not want to own. They'd rather spend money on experiences like travel or education, according to a survey by a group called Entrada. They also don't want to be tied down in case they get a better job somewhere. It's harder to move if you're an owner than if you're a renter. And for some older people who have been longtime homeowners, it might be a good time to sell now. You can take your equity off the table. You don't have to deal with rising prices or the other burdens of homeownership. So for many Americans, being a renter society isn't all bad.
Now, depending on where you personally grew up or where you were raised from, how much money would it take for you to actually genuinely, authentically survive in that area? Would you have to make, the bottom minimum of like $30K a year and just kind of live lackluster? Or would that still produce you in a kind of an average lifestyle, average, whatever you want to call that? Or would you need a 50, 60K a year, which is supposedly the modern income, talking about a two-person income household, which most people don't even have two people sharing it. We're usually like, living with a bunch of people and we're all kind of paying things individually and still we're all broke. What a weird situation. The West is weird, to say the least. Or do you need 100K plus? Do you live in somewhere like New York or LA or some of these other places throughout the US, these bigger, larger cities, where it's really hard to actually maintain some of these lifestyles without a, largely justified income. So, with most people not really being able to attain these sources of, income or wages, it seems as if we're kind of stuck working retail jobs, fast food jobs, juggling gig work and quick cash, because at the end of the day, there's not really much money to go around, even with all these things, and no time left for ourselves or anybody or anything else. Well, that's when we're up with this video, discussing how the current day job market is not really designed for you or I to succeed. We're kind of stuck in this rut that is the misery that is living, because life is suffering. Either way, feel free to leave your thoughts, opinions down below in the comments, as well as I want to give a huge shout out to the handful of you guys checking out these videos daily, and an even larger shout out of acknowledgement to the handful of you guys checking out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. And yeah, I don't really expect anything, but I always appreciate anybody who goes above and beyond and shows their support through those measures. So it's kind of like that for this one. I'm going to appreciate your support, and I hope to see you next one. So bye.